24시간 불이 꺼지지 않는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
Coming up on Arirang News, President Yoon ahead of his summits with ASEAN and G20 leaders, emphasizes the need for close cooperation between the international community, including China, to firmly cut off illicit funding for North Korea. Teachers in South Korea take to the streets, demanding their rights at work as they mourn the loss of their colleagues. Taking what they say seriously, President Yoon and politicians call for change. With China resuming its outbound group tours for the first time in several years, South Korea aims to attract some 2 million Chinese tourists this year. This with a range of incentives including temporarily exempting visa fees. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. South Korean President Yoon is set to travel to Indonesia and India for the ASEAN and G20 summits. And ahead of his trip, he stresses the need for the international community's cooperation to counter the North's nuclear threats, as well as efforts needed to prevent the regime from conducting illegal activities linked to its weapons development. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae-eun-ji leads us off.
Before leaving for ASEAN-related summits and the G20 summit, President Yoon has reportedly said he will urge the international community to work together to respond to North Korea's evolving missile and nuclear threats. In a written interview with AP News on Monday, Yoon said he will especially use the G20 summit to highlight the need to actively deter the regime from carrying out illegal activities, such as stealing cryptocurrency, dispatching workers overseas to earn foreign currency, and facilitating maritime transshipment, which are the main funding sources for its weapons development. The president added that he will also emphasize the need to address human rights concerns in North Korea. Noting that China accounted for 97% of Pyongyang's total trade volume last year, Yoon also stressed that Beijing must put forth constructive efforts to denuclearize North Korea. He said China must realize that the North's nuclear development also has a negative impact on its national interests. His remarks come after the North launched several cruise missiles off its west coast over the weekend, in an apparent protest against the recent annual military exercise conducted by South Korea and the United States. It also comes as he is set to travel to Jakarta for 4 days starting Tuesday to attend a series of summits scheduled on the sidelines of a meeting of ASEAN leaders. Then on Friday, he plans to visit New Delhi for the G20 summit that will take place from Saturday to Sunday. A senior official from the presidential office told reporters on Monday that throughout the upcoming summits, Yoon will hold bilateral meetings with the leaders of 14 countries, and that the office is also scheduling meetings with 6 more. But the official added that China is not one of them, as the country has not said its leader Xi Jinping will attend the G20 summit this year. Bae-eun-ji, Arirang News.
South Korea's intelligence agency has assessed that if North Korea goes to war, it's likely to engage in one that's short-term with both conventional and tactical nuclear weapons. This came following closed-door National Intelligence Agency briefings on Monday, which looked at North Korea's limitations in engaging in a long-term war. Lawmakers present also told reporters that according to the NIS, Russia formally proposed a joint naval drill with China when Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in late July. In regards to North Korea's launching of 2 cruise missiles on Saturday, the NIS said that one was successful while the other was not. The NIS also was quoted as saying that North Korea continues to actively oppose Japan's release of contaminated water. Teachers across the nation today gathered in front of the National Assembly and elsewhere to mourn the passing of some of their peers and to demand changes in classrooms. President Yoon and politicians are taking their words seriously, vowing to institute change. Our political correspondent Kim Jung-sil reports.
Teachers in South Korea are grieving. and they're angry. They're grieving for lost fellow teachers, and they're angered by the lack of administrative measures to protect them. On the 49th day since the death of an elementary school teacher at Seoul Seoyi Elementary School, teachers from all over the country gathered in front of the National Assembly to mourn the young teacher who took her own life in July. They're also mourning 3 others from different schools who also committed suicide in just 4 days since last week. Teachers dressed in black are demanding that the National Assembly change the law to better ensure teachers' rights, saying regular guidance should not be deemed child abuse. The rally came amid strong opposition from the Education Ministry that said while it sympathizes with the teachers, the ministry also respects the rights of students to be educated, adding that the educators should remain at their posts in schools. However, this did not stop the teachers from taking leave from their schools to participate.
I think there must be revisions made to the Child Welfare Act to clear up the blurred lines of what defines child abuse on school grounds, to better protect teachers' rights during educational activities.
President Yoon ordered the government on Monday to take the teachers' complaints seriously and to make every effort to establish their rights and normalize the education sector. The ruling People Power Party said it will make every effort to pass 4 major bills that are aimed at strengthening teachers' rights. While main opposition Democratic Party of Korea said education is the basis of our society and that it is the government's responsibility to make schools a safe environment. Both parties will discuss the bills at an assembly standing committee, and if all goes swiftly, they will be put to a vote at a plenary session as early as September 21st. 김정실, 아리랑 뉴스.
With China resuming its outbound group tours for the first time in several years, South Korea aims to attract some 2 million Chinese tourists this year. This with a range of incentives, including temporarily exempting visa fees. Or Song Yujin explains.
A month after China lifted its 6-year ban on group tours to Korea, the Korean government is working to make the most out of it. The goal is to triple the number of Chinese travelers from 500,000 in the first half of the year to 1.5 million in the second. Key measures include exempting Chinese nationals traveling in groups from paying electronic visa application fees until the end of this year, which cost 18,000 Korean won, or around $13.60 per person. The Justice Ministry defines group tours as 3 or more individuals who've signed up for a tour through a travel agency designated by the Korean Embassy in China. When this change will take effect has yet to be decided, but the ministry says it's working to implement it soon. The number of flights between Korea and China will also be increased, though the exact number hasn't been announced. And there are initiatives to encourage these tourists to open their wallets. An additional 250,000 businesses nationwide will accept Chinese mobile payment services WeChat Pay and Alipay. Travelers will be able to enjoy immediate tax refunds at these stores from next month. An immediate tax refund is a system that instantly deducts the value-added tax on products when travelers present their passports at certified tax-free stores, which means no need to apply for a tax refund before leaving the country. The government will lower the minimum purchase limit available for this tax refund from 30,000 Korean won to 15,000 won from next year. The upper limit will jump from 500,000 won to 700,000 won per purchase. But the total purchase limit will remain at 2.5 million won. And to become a more appealing travel destination, the government will develop tailored tour packages like cruise trips from China to the southern port city of Busan and Jeju Island, as well as K-culture-themed tours incorporating K-food and K-beauty and medical tourism. Song Yujin, Arirang News.
Shoppers in South Korea spent a record amount online for travel and transportation services in the month of July as they welcomed their first summer since COVID-19 was downgraded to an endemic. Data from Statistics Korea released on Monday shows that the online spending for these services surged more than 31% from a year ago to $1.6 billion. That's the highest ever on a monthly basis. Digital e-coupon service transactions were also up at more than 28% year-on-year to around $557 million. The total value of online shopping rose some 9% from the same month in 2022 to $14.3 billion. To bolster export recovery momentum, South Korea plans to inject nearly $140 billion for exporters this year and will skip a feasibility test for a faster construction of the world's largest high-tech chip production cluster in the country. Our finance correspondent Shin Ha-young has details.
South Korea's economy is in the early stage of recovery. This is how Seoul's Finance Minister Chu Kyung-woo on Monday assessed the country's current economic status during an emergency ministerial meeting.
Recently, our economy has seen monthly fluctuations, but it appears to be in the early stages of recovery. However, uncertainties in external conditions such as China's economic situation remain.
The decline in exports in August narrowed from a month earlier thanks to a recovery in the chip industry. The country also reported a trade surplus for the third straight month. The government expects the fall in exports to narrow further in September, with the trade balance also set to stay in the black. In response to other economic uncertainties, Chu said that the government will remain cautious and focus on strengthening export recovery momentum. To do so, the government will provide 181 trillion Korean won, or roughly $137 billion of development policy financing to exporters through to the end of this year. It also plans to skip a feasibility study related to plans to build the world's largest high-tech chip production cluster so that it can be established more quickly. The massive semiconductor hub announced in March will be built in Yoon, Gyeonggi-do Province, which is close to the capital. To develop next-generation batteries, there will be new R&D projects, including for lithium iron phosphate batteries and sodium-ion batteries. Amid the heating up of OTT platform competition around the world, the government will also create a K-content strategic fund worth around $750 billion to expand its presence in the global entertainment industry. As part of their plans to diversify export regions, the government will target both major markets such as the U.S. and China, as well as emerging markets like the Middle East. In particular, Chu emphasized the importance of China's market, saying that it plans to hold a bilateral finance ministerial meeting with China sometime this year. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
South Korea is the market leader in 6 categories, including smartphones, DRAM, OLED panels, NAND flash, ultra-thin TVs, and shipbuilding. According to a survey released by Nikkei on Monday, Korea last year ranked 3rd in the world alongside Japan when looking at countries with the most significant shares of certain markets among 63 products. Samsung Electronics is top for electronics, while HD Hyundai Heavy Industries expanded its share as the new leader in shipbuilding. U.S. companies held the biggest shares in the market for 22 products, followed by China, leading 16 markets. Following her recent trip to China, U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo says her country has sufficient tools to tackle Beijing's triggering of tensions if needed. China's Commerce Ministry, in the meantime, has held a nationwide meeting and discussed export regulations for the first time. Our Park Gun-woo covers the details.
U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo said the U.S. has sticks to possibly counter China if Beijing triggers conflict. In an interview with CNN on Sunday, Raimondo said there are plenty of tools, including export controls and tariffs, to use against China that Washington is ready and willing to use if necessary. The remarks followed Raimondo's visit to China last week to discuss U.S. China commercial ties. In another interview with NBC on the same day, she said Washington's export controls on China are about national security, not about gaining an economic advantage. Last year, the Biden administration announced export controls banning Chinese companies from buying advanced semiconductors and chip-making equipment without a license. Raimondo, despite strained relations between the two sides, reiterated the importance of the $700 billion bilateral relationship and said Washington will continue to sell chips to Beijing, but not the most sophisticated ones that China wants for military purposes. China is also willing to control exports as a response to the U.S. Following a first meeting held by China's Ministry of Commerce discussing export regulations 2 days ago, the country announced it will upgrade its export regulations and strengthen its national security values. China's state-affiliated media, Global Times, analyzed this movement as a retaliation against the recent action taken by the U.S. It added that the meeting was significant enough to show Beijing's determination to protect its economic security and for the country to have means of retaliation against nations that try to counter China's growth. Beijing has been imposing curbs on exports of 2 rare metals that are widely used in high-tech industries, including chip manufacturing, since August. The metals include gallium and germanium, which China accounts for most of the global production. The European Council's data showed over 90% of the minerals worldwide were produced by China from 2016 through 2020. Park Gonu, Arirang News.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has replaced the country's defense chief, citing the need for new approaches as the war with Russia enters its 19th month. In his nightly video addressed to the nation on Sunday, President Zelenskyy said he has decided to dismiss Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov from his post and replace him with Rustem Umerov, the former People's Deputy of Ukraine. This sets the stage for the biggest shakeup of Ukraine's defense establishment since the start of the war. Reznikov has served as defense minister since November 2021 and helped secure billions of dollars of Western military aid. His removal comes in the wake of a number of corruption scandals involving Ukraine's Ministry of Defense. China and Hong Kong have been hit by a powerful Typhoon Saola this past weekend, and that is deemed to be the strongest storm to hit the region in more than 70 years. Lee Kyung-un reports.
Strong enough to slam a woman onto the ground, Super Typhoon Saola made landfall in South China's Guangdong province on Saturday. Packing winds of 125 miles per hour, the strongest since 1949, the typhoon prompted China's most severe red alert. Nearly 800,000 people were evacuated, 13 cities delayed the start of the school term following the summer break, tens of thousands of fishing boats returned to port, and Taishan nuclear power plant halted outdoor operations. Fallen trees, damaged cars, and flooded roads were seen in Hong Kong, where hundreds of flights have been cancelled.
This typhoon seems to be not as strong as a typhoon number 10 before. I was safe at home, but I heard from some friends that their windows got damaged, exhaust fans blew away, or there were leaks and they had to wipe away the water.
I live near the sea, so this time I felt the strong winds. The whole apartment felt like it was shaking.
Saola later weakened to a tropical storm. Trains, flights, and ferries resumed operations as Guangdong downgraded its emergency response for typhoon from the highest level 1 to level 3.
We will stay vigilant in typhoon defense work and strengthen inspections of medium and small rivers, geological hazards in urban areas prone to waterlogging to prevent secondary disasters.
While the exact scale of damage is yet to be announced, another typhoon, Haikui, is heading towards China's province of Fujian after passing through Taiwan. Yoon, Arirang News.
Over in the U.S., torrential rainfall has left tens of thousands of campers stranded at the Burning Man Festival in the state of Nevada amid related road closures. There's also been one death reported. Our Lee Seung-jae has the details.
The remote site of the annual Burning Man Festival in northwest Nevada in the U.S. was slammed with 2 to 3 months' worth of rain in just 24 hours between Friday and Saturday morning. The heavy rain led to road closures that left around 70,000 attendees stuck in the Nevada desert as the dry desert ground turned into clay-like mud, making it too difficult to walk through. Authorities told attendees on Saturday to seek shelter in the Black Rock Desert and conserve food, water, and fuel as more rainy weather was expected in the area. While a few have managed to leave the area by walking, many RVs and cars became bogged down in mud. Authorities have not provided information on when the roads could reopen, but better weather is expected from Monday. Currently, no driving is allowed in or out of Black Rock City, a full-fledged, thriving temporary metropolis where the Burning Man Festival is held. Meanwhile, the local sheriff's office said it's investigating a death that occurred during the rain event after a body was discovered on Saturday local time. The authorities did not publicly reveal the name of the person or provide details on the circumstances of the death. They added that the individual was found unconscious and that life-saving procedures to revive them were not successful. Each year, tens of thousands of people travel to the remote area in northwest Nevada to take part in the Burning Man Festival to make art, dance, and enjoy a community spirit. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Shifting gears, Arirang TV's flagship music program, Simply K-pop Contour, won the Global Award at the 2023 Korea Cable TV Awards. At the award ceremony held on Monday, Simply K-pop Contour was recognized for its contribution to the global K-pop scene by allowing fans from all over the world to interact with their favorite K-pop stars through live video connections each episode. Other cable network productions recognized were Our Blues, which took home the award for Best Drama, and the second season of Brave Detectives for Best Variety Show. The 2023 Korea Cable TV Awards, which first began in 2007, is held annually and awards programs and stars from cable networks. K-pop boy band Stray Kids has achieved second place in the United States for the most albums sold this year, only behind Taylor Swift. The group's agency, JYP Entertainment, announced on Monday that the group's third studio album, 5 Star, originally released in June last year, has registered the most sales among K-pop albums in the U.S. for 2023. The album made it to its last year's Billboard Chart 200 alongside their mini-albums Ordinary and Maxident. The group will be performing as the only Asian artist at the 2023 Global Citizen Festival in Central Park, New York on September 23rd. In addition, Stray Kids will kick off their first ever Dome tour since their debut this month in Osaka and continue on to Tokyo next month. K-pop girl group Blackpink has been nominated in 6 categories for the 2023 MTV Video Music Awards. They include Best Editing, Best Art Direction, Best Choreography, Best K-pop, Group of the Year, and Show of the Summer. Meanwhile, K-pop boy band Tomorrow by Together has seen its song Sugar Rush Ride nominated in 4 categories, including Push Performance of the Year. Other K-pop acts such as 50/50, New Jeans, 17, Stray Kids, and Jungkook have also been nominated for awards. This year's award ceremony will take place in New Jersey on September 12th, that is next Tuesday.
Warmer conditions are forecast for much of South Korea for the next few days. Maximum temperatures will be hiking up to 31 degrees Celsius in Seoul, which is about 4 degrees higher than the seasonal average. A high-pressure system will be dominant, especially for the south, making temperatures feel close to 33 degrees. Unstable atmospheric conditions across eastern regions will lead to some occasional showers. The coastlines of Gangwon-do and Gyeongsang-buk-do provinces will see 5 to 40 millimeters. Jeju Island can expect 5 to 20. Although the amount of rainfall is fairly trivial, keep in mind that thunder and lightning may follow at times. Partly cloudy to overcast skies are expected for the morning hours. Seoul and Busan will be starting off at 24 degrees. For central regions, including Seoul, clear skies will make a return by the daytime. Highs in Seoul get up to 31, Gwangju 32. Daegu and Busan will be topping out at 30 degrees. For the remainder of the week, sunny skies are expected for Seoul. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
Well, that brings an end to this Monday night newscast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with the latest news. Hope everyone has a good start of the week.